Hello and Jashtale to all the class 12 students. In this video on chapter number 1, Reproduction in Organisms, we will continue our discussion on the remaining two events involved in sexual reproduction. In our previous video, we have already discussed about pre-fertilization events, right, in which we have talked about two processes, gametogenesis and gamete transfer. Now in this video, we will discuss about fertilization and post-fertilization events. Now, the first one is fertilization. What do we mean by fertilization? Fertilization means the process in which there is fusion of two gametes. And it is the most vital event of sexual reproduction. It is the most important event of sexual reproduction. And fertilization is also called as syngamy. Right? So these two terminologies, they are same, they are synonymous. Right? Fertilization lanere, syngamy lanere, thanyi dingi ni thonda chikbare. Right, fertilization lanere syngamy lanere thonda khala gore fusion of gametes, and fertilization results in the formation of a cell called as zygote. We know that gametes are haploid in nature, right? Gametes are haploid in nature, and the fusion of these two gametes results in the formation of a diploid cell known as zygote, and the zygote will undergo development to form a new individual. Right? Fertilization ga du kharchung gore male gamete the female gamete ni ya zom kuni ni fuse che ra and khari form chi gore zygote form chi gore ani male gamete the female gamete ni khare haploid re hono na chromosome thanga chega ma de yomar ra ani kuni ni ya zom du zambala ani chromosome thanga khachi gore full cha du gore so haploid ni ya jani ani diploid cell cha gore diploid cell dikhare zygote cha gore and zygote the cell division through development ro cherwa ani individual sawaji chagrwa. Now the question is fertilization always necessary to produce a new individual? Wa gamete ni inji miji zom gorwes individual sawaji swewala. So the answer is no, it is not always necessary. There is a phenomenon known as parthenogenesis. Now you should remember this particular terminology, right? Parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis is a phenomenon in which the female gamete alone can undergo development to form new organism without fertilization. Right? Male gamete mogo vethone, female gamete it undergoes development to form a new individual. Right, so that is called as parthenogenesis, and parthenogenesis can be observed in rotifers. Rotifers lana chunal de simje pe chunjun yor microscope wala ta utu ende. So rotifers nala yores rotsik tajatal lotenal tsea rotifers nala yores, and it is observed in some lizards like whiptail lizard, Komodo dragons, right? So lizards nale parthenogenesis thongture, and then birds nalolta na we have got turkey, right? Turkey lan chidwa bird chidwa di nalo lekharere parthenogenesis chungore, and the most common example of parthenogenesis is honeybees. Honeybees nalola male bee di sama khane chungore la na only from the female's egg without the need of fertilization. So parthenogenesis can be observed in all these animals: rotifers, lizards, turkey bird, and honeybees. For example, now there are two types of fertilization, right? Depending upon where fertilization occurs, right? Where the fusion of gametes occurs, right? Depending upon where the syngamy occurs, fertilization is of two types: external fertilization and internal fertilization. External fertilization the term itself is self-explanatory. External fertilization means the fertilization which happens outside the body of the organism, right? That is called as external fertilization. When the two gametes they meet outside the body of the organism, then it is called as external fertilization. Whereas internal fertilization, it occurs inside the body of the organism, right? Usually the female individual, right? Fertilization the kisi chilo lo chungu yobi mena external fertilization che kisi fertilization nanglo lo chungu yobi na organism ki subu nanglo lo chungu yobi mena ani internal fertilization la wor ta kharri du ta enda external fertilization la na khala wor la sungi thanji wa if the two gametes they meet outside, right? They meet outside the organism's body, then it is called as external fertilization, and it is mostly observed in aquatic organisms. The organisms such as algae, fishes, and amphibians. Right. So the gametes are released outside. Since these organisms, they live inside the water, right? So water acts as a medium in which the gametes, they are released out, and by traveling inside this particular medium, that is water, right, these two gametes, they come together and they fuse, right? And the fusion occurs outside the body of the organism, therefore it is called as external fertilization. Now in such cases, external fertilization, now in such cases, large number of gametes are released into water. Both male as well as female gametes are released in large quantities. Male the female gamete niga pet kora thanga mabu shuj machilo tensha wor dinde indu zambala even a large number of offspring are produced. Pu gepe mabu ke wor. The external fertilization la disadvantage khari la wo imbai na. Offsprings are extremely vulnerable to predators. Offspring the pu chagyo jo marwe pu mabu shu chagro da gonga da sperm mabu shu machilo le lebe imbai na ani fertilize chani pu mabu be chagro. They are extremely vulnerable to predators, and they mostly don't make it to adulthood. Most of them, they don't make it to adulthood. Mangbu shuji ya salon che sa wo mar. Mang che shuju ga shidu wor. Predator den zug sadu wor. So external fertilization, right? So there is a disadvantage in which even if the offspring are produced in very large quantities, right, many of them, they don't make it to adulthood because they are extremely vulnerable to predators. They are not able to defend themselves. So example kharna layer la sunye thanji amphibians, right, fishes and algae, right? So also amphibians, the fishes na the male and female, right, they come together, they release their gametes outside into the water, right? In all fertilization internal marwa external raw. So male gi sperm da female gi konga dige sama ma chilo chunal ma tang shawor nya ge chikba jigyan chiwor. So the kharchi fertilization khawala chungure chunal chunguro. So therefore it is called as external fertilization. And dige sama puja duwa konga sama fertilize chesa vejela tab ko develop chani pula yudu sama bu ma bu shuchagro. But many of them, they don't make it to adulthood. That is the disadvantage. Eggs and sperms, right? And fertilization occurs inside the water. Same thing. In the fishes also, the eggs and the sperm, they are released outside into the water. Right? Synchronization tada. Female gi konga ma lyo and male gi sperm de ma lyo shaejo. So they fuse inside the water, right? And they will develop into new organisms later on, new fishes. But the new fishes, they are very vulnerable to predators and they don't make it to adulthood. So the repetition mangbo chaswa. The internal fertilization lana thanji opposite re. Thanji gaji opposite re. And it is mostly observed in terrestrial organisms, right? And fertilization usually happens inside the body of the female individual. Fertilization na di kharna chungore female individual digi subuna chungor, right? And in such cases, usually the male gametes are motile, right? In internal fertilization, male gametes are usually motile and the female gametes are immotile, non-motile. And in such cases, more sperms are produced compared to the number of eggs, right? Sperm the egg ni thanga durwa himai sperm bad manga psor egg comparison la ni thunda dinyama ni lazaswa. And in flowering plants, male gametes are non-motile, but the gametes are carried to the egg by pollen tubes. Pollen grain ngazu dinya rikeje shemba pollination ngala. Pollen grain di yama kidong the pollen grain khorang khujo jayo marda. It is carried by pollinating agents like honeybees, water, yamena, wind. Ezu kitu war. Pollen grain khora le yama drag nuba yomar ani male pollen grain na yogi male gamete the khujo jaya khora yomarwa. But the pollen tubes, when the pollen grain lands on the stigma of a flower, right, the pollen germinates, resulting in the formation of pollen tubes, and pollen tubes, they carry the male gamete towards the female gamete. Now, internal fertilization along the chati samtalan tigre. Right. So the fusion of the male and female gamete occurs inside the body of the female. Zygote is formed inside the body of the female. Now let us discuss about post-fertilization events. Right. Post-fertilization events means events that follow after the formation of zygote. Right. Male the female gamete ni ya zomsawada khari form chigirdaso zygote form chigirdaso. So zygote form chewata and post-fertilization events go to war. And zygote, I told you, it is a diploid in nature. Right. Zygote is a diploid cell and it is a vital link that ensures the continuity of the species between organisms of one generation to the next. Adigi sentence zygote the diploid race. Zygote the diploid consists however when two haploid cells, right, when two haploid cells or when two haploid gametes they fuse together during fertilization, it results in the formation of a diploid cell. Right. So male sperm nanglola haploid gamete chromosome number yore, female gi gonga nanglola haploid chromosome number yore, ani kunyi ni fuse chidu zamba fertilization couple fuse chidu zamba la ani zygote form chi yo zygote nanglola haploid ni dom ni khar chadu or diploid chadu or. Isi ta humans ka je example le wing bana. Human male ki sperm nanglola there are 23 chromosomes. Human egg gi nanglola kazu 23 chromosomes. And 23 domni khazu chagore zygote nanglola 46 chromosomes chadu. So haploid it becomes a diploid zygote. And zygote la di kharchin nenga chambure la wi na, it ensures the continuity of the species between organisms of one generation to the next. So the link do chagdo. Individual jigi podigi sperm sere modigi gonga sere kuni ni kajigi gamete ni dia zomni ani zygote chani zygote the baby le gyur tuwa podi nanglo chromosome thanga khazu yore 46 yore ine ko sperm nanglo la 23 ma dio mar dine podi subu nanglo la 46 re female gi subu nanglo le 46 chromosomes yore cell dige nangla so nganzu gi species kajigi chromosome thanga di khazu re 46 re do. So di nizambala nganzu pugu ge kharike go chromosome thanga 46 yo gyoch ke go ro ile manga da tele nyunga yo gyo ke wi bane abnormal chadu or. So kharchido when two haploid gametes they meet together they form a diploid cell and this diploid cell will develop into a new organism which has got the correct chromosome number. So zygote di kharchido it forms a vital link that ensures the continuity of the species. Now remember, zygotes of algae and fungi, they have thick walls. And these thick walls, they are resistant to desiccation and damage. Zygote, algae da fungi na rola zygote kisi algae the fungi sexual mode of reproduction chigi yobi baina. Normally they will undergo asexual reproduction. But during unfavorable conditions, I have told you that members of algae and fungi, they will prefer sexual mode of reproduction during unfavorable condition. Right? Why? Because the zygote which is formed, they have got very thick wall. Right? And these thick walls, they are resistant to desiccation and damage. Desiccation lana kam rowa. Damage lana chula rowa la warwa. So kisi unfavorable condition yimba na chudun stata mewa do che namshi tsau shu jo yimba na rowa. Ani algae da fungi den zuki sexual mode of reproduction chigres tonda khare la yimba na khonzu ki zygote form che yo dikhare yore they have got very thick walls which is extremely resistant to desiccation and damage, thereby protecting the zygote inside. Right? And zygote dishuma khachigre when the favorable condition returns the zygote will develop into what are meiosis ki through ma develop chini spores la gyur and spores the germinate chidu zambala ani algae yamena fungi sawa chayung war seuchung so tilowarda. Now let us talk about embryogenesis. Right, post fertilization events nalola zygote form cheyagi ti step thangbore do zygote ki jela kharche gore embryogenesis. Right, zygote form chesa the zygote the gyur doya jomar tilanga zu khala gore embryogenesis la war. Right, so embryogenesis is the process of development of embryo from zygote and it occurs through cell division and cell differentiation. Right, cell zygote dikharela so it is a diploid cell la so zygote it's just a single cell. Imagine ngaju changma ngaju khari gi sogyor cell mangbu shuji gi sogyor wa. So ine ngaju originally when we were conceived inside our mother's womb, right, we were just a single cell, we were just a zygote, and that zygote it divided through cell division, and afterwards our cells, these mass of cells, they differentiated to give rise to our complex organisms like us. So the now cell division and cell differentiation chung ki and kharcha do re zygote the embryo la do re the process the khala re la wim na embryogenesis lag re. So cell division ha go bara mitosis ki through chung, whereas cell differentiation means a one cell which can, which has the potential to become anything, right? Muscle cell ge chahe or a fat cell ge chahe or a bone cell, blood cell, nervous cell, epithelial cell, immune cell, ani germ cell, sex cells kanju moju chahe to di chahe gi process de la jo khal la wo re cell differentiation la wo. When a particular stem cell becomes differentiated means this particular stem cell has become matured into a functional cell, and that functional cell it has become a specialized cell, right? Muscle cell, the fat cell dagmindo in a origin chungsa di chikbato charuda. So zygote it will divide, and the divided cells they will differentiate into special types of cells, giving rise to a complex organism. And this process is called as embryogenesis. The nganzui animals nanglola, based upon whether the development of the zygote or the embryogenesis khwala chungudo, female gi subu nanglolo chungudo yamena chilolo chungudo digala shishani ro. There are two types of animals: oviparous animals and viviparous animals. You have to remember these two terms. Oviparous lana khala wore, viviparous lana khala wore lan differentiate chila ya tiwandile sigirta. Oviparous animals are those animals who lays either fertilized or unfertilized eggs. Konga tangi simje rishto dige sama khare oviparous animals re. Rather chadi imbaine re. I mean mammal konga tangi yoro platypus la da denzo. Right, they are oviparous animals. Right, do da dige sama konga tangi do. So oviparous animals are those who lays either fertilized or unfertilized eggs. That means the development of the embryo occurs outside the female body. Embryogenesis dikhawala chungore, female ki po subu ki chilol chungor. Whereas viviparous animals, right, the zygotes they develop into a young one inside the female body. Embryogenesis occurs inside the female body. Ngazudo, ngazu viviparous animal re. Right, those animals who give birth to live young ones they are called as viviparous animals. Right, so the young ones they are delivered out of the female body. The dingi para differentiate chedu sarwa. Oviparous lana konga tangi simjenche, viviparous lana ani pu pet kora genye. Young ones are delivered. Right, so that is viviparous animals. Right, you can also look for ovoviviparous layer. Right, you can look for that particular term in Google. Right, ovoviviparous layer. In the term, so let us not bother about that. Okay, now here, right, oviparous animal, the viviparous animal ni parala turuwa imba na, kuni ni parala compare chewa imba na. The chances of the survival of young ones are greater in viviparous animals. Right, viviparous animals nanglola pugu manja denzurwa, and tharayagi chances mangayor, survive chayagi chances mangayores. Kachini because of proper embryonic care inside the female's body, and later on it is protected by the motherly care. Right, konga tangi simje mangche konga la thona shirate matenge yorda. Rata chati denzu konga gal teda dega chigdwa. Ini simje mangboji khajir konga tang doshe jo. Pugu taku gyab chigminda. So konga di ne ge khare, it is defenseless, right? Eggs can be eaten by anything, right? Predator su ne ge konga di sasigro. So therefore, in viviparous animals, the chances of the survival of young ones are greater compared to the oviparous animals. Because of proper embryonic care and protection. So you have to remember this particular sentence. Right? You can be asked why viviparous animals survive better. Right? Young ones of viviparous animal kachin survive chayagi chance shuk chayarlan tiwale sigirta. If we talk about post-fertilization events in flowering plants. So now this is the last topic. Okay. So post-fertilization events in flowering plants gonna get by now. First we need to understand the structure or the female reproductive part. Female reproductive part is structure the over. It is composed of stigma, style, and ovary. Stigma style and ovary la na khare pistil or the female reproductive part derwa gynoecium dire ta di nanglo la ngazu ki tub ni taw yin ba na stigma style ovary nanglo la khare yore we have got ovule nanglo la khare yore egg yore female kaji egg di adi thonan yago di remod yago ha ko achia ro ovary nanglo la ovule yore ste tok nzu do ovule nanglo la khare yore eggs yore seo chung so ovule re na egg re yore ta after fertilization of the eggs which are present inside the ovules, what will happen, right? Fertilization of the egg with the male gamete results in the formation of zygote, and the zygote will develop into embryo. Ovule will develop into seed, and ovary it will develop into fruit. Male gamete ma yong ni konga nyamdalo fertilize cheni kharcha dugre zygote chayro zygote di kharla gyurgure embryo the future plant, whereas and the gonga yesa ki ovule la jo toto jo marwe ovule di kharla gyurdure they will develop into seed sön la gyurdur wa ani chilo lo yoyo ki ovary jo marwe tanji ovary la jo madum ta wen toto jo mindwe ovary will develop into fruit. So you can see over here 당문열의 매도로 줘라 디파라델라 petals 줘라 petals 되게 some 호두라 after fertilization the petals will fall off, right? Only the female part will remain, and the female part will undergo development in which the zygote will develop into embryo, the ovule will develop into seed, and the ovary will develop into fruit. तादेला 가지고 군둠 도스테도 군둠 나로로 수행 교도 수행 나로로 하리요래 embryo 디요래 수행 호랑 가네 차래 ovule 네 차래 ngazu gundum saya yoge chmindwe fruit joro fruit dikharre it is nothing but the swollen ovary di develop chani kharcha dore fruit cha dore and chilo la pakpa jo mane gundum ki pakpa dikharre it is the pericarp, it protects the fruit. So with this we have come to the end of chapter number 1. Now what I want you to do is read the summary given on page number 16 and then complete the questions. You have to write the answers for those questions, which is given in the textbook exercises on page number 17 and 18. And in the next video, we will start our new chapter, chapter number 2. Okay, thank you.